Hey everybody, it is Lauren deLisa Coleman back with you again for another episode of the Inside series right here on film.io. We're going strong during the Sundance Film Festival for 2022. Nobody is bringing you a lineup like we are for a number of different interviews with great filmmakers. I have a duo with me right now, which I can't wait to get into it with them about this film, which is just like so funny. And as it says in the press notes, you know, we don't see a protagonist of this type, but let me not give too much away. I have Doris Casap, who is the producer. Thanks for joining us. And DDM, who is rapper, storyteller, just creative extraordinaire. Behind, inside, in front of this film, which okay, is like FCK, but you know, that's just to be able to put it out there nicely. The title is Fck Em Right Back. And so who would like to kick it off for me in terms of giving a synopsis of this film?
Why don't you take that, Manny? I mean,
Oh,
yeah.
all right. So this film is basically loosely based on my daytime adventures, you know, as a struggling artist trying to make it out there. So the story came about actually based on my real daytime job. I work for the electric company back home in Baltimore. And the concept of the film is I work and my boss doesn't like me. So we have a policy at work where you have to be drug free and they randomly drug test you at any time. I have a performance the night before work. Unbeknownst to me, my love interest slides me an edible. For those of you in the know, and I get called in for a random the following day, and I freak out and I come up with all of these crazy schemes to avoid taking a random. And you basically see a cat and mouse game between me and my boss, and me trying to figure it out with the support of my dear friend Yolanda, played by
There's a
the great
crack up.
Tara Young. Yes.
Fuck it right.
Thank you for that wonderful synopsis. And you know what? Right on cue, it seems like Harris is now here as
Oh, great.
well, who we thought was not going to be able to join us, but I have just beamed him in from the virtual world. And so let's see. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here he is.
Hi.
Hi. Hello. Thank you for joining us, which I didn't think that, you know, you were too fabulous for us today and we're too busy. But
It all
something
worked
changed.
out.
That was the rumor.
You know what?
That was the rumor. Yes, that was in the National Enquirer. I don't know, but we're glad to have you.
I'm so
Everybody,
glad to be
Harris
here.
Doran,
Hi. I'm so glad to be here.
thank you so much. We are too. You haven't really missed very much. DDM just gave us a wonderful and colorful synopsis
Great.
of the film. So let's see, where do we want to go with this? Because now I have the full, you know, trio. Okay, so we know that this came about from loosely based on DDM's, you know, kind of day gigs or day in the life, which one can only imagine, you know, just like the regular days. What was this like, kind of pulling this all off? Because I do like, okay, this is, you know, a comedy and all of that, but I do love the additional elements about how this goes a bit deeper about class and so much more, right? So why don't we start now that we have everybody together? How did you guys all come together, first of all, to create this project?
Well, I came across Manny DDM a few years ago on a kind of podcast that he does, and I do think I call it a podcast called Secretary of Shade, and he was reading Omarosa's book. And he was hilarious. He was reading it so we didn't have to, annotated and, you know, editorializing the way through. And the minute I saw him, I said, this guy is a star, and he needs to be everything. He can do everything. And I reached out to him and we began a relationship. And, you know, he had to believe that this crazy random lady who was reaching out and saying, come to New York, I'll pay for you to come to New York. I want you to like come perform at an event that I have. And then it really worked out and we became friends. And all along I've been trying to see if there are people who could get him the way I get him. And it wasn't happening. People would have a good response. And finally I just said, F it, I have to do it myself. And so I reached out to Manny and said, I want to make a movie about you, kind of on you, you know, on the topic of you, right? And then Harris, with whom is a friend and with whom I've been working, said, I mentioned it to Harris, and Harris said, "What? I have an idea." And so we went down to Baltimore, we hung out with Manny, we got a lot of the plot points, a lot of understanding about his life. And then we came home and we, on the way home, decided to make a short first. And Harris wrote it in like 3 days with Manny's help, the two of them. And we just went warp speed. And I think we had that first conversation late June, and we were filming in August, and we applied, we submitted, I think the last day of submissions to the festival, but we did it. And partly because Harris worked around the clock on the editing and getting it ready. And so, but it was so much fun. It was so much fun. And we had the incredible luck through friends of ours to be able to cast Cara Young, who is on Broadway. She just did a play with Lynn Nottage, which just had a limited run, unbelievable, incredible reviews. And Kathy Curtins has been in Harris's first feature and other things. And we all know each other also from parties at my house.
Great.
So
wow, I mean, it was really like super like warp speed to bring all of this together. And so then what was it like when you found out that the film would be included at Sundance?
Well, that was the dream come true, right? That was pretty amazing.
Especially because, I mean, this is the first time that you all have worked together as a team, correct?
Yeah,
so
correct.
Some definitely like magic and secret sauce there, right?
Right. Well, I just want to say, the first day of shooting, I had a moment where I just had to stop because I never had a doubt that Manny could act, but he'd never acted before. And I remember stopping going like, oh, wow, this exact thing that I knew that I just went for, that I wanted to see happen is happening, and he's great. And, you know, Harris had the same reaction, I'm sure, because he'd never acted. So it was so exciting that everything we envisioned came true. So.
I think that's really great. I think that, well, my viewers know that I come originally from the music industry, I mean, the business side of it, not performing. And so I've worked with a ton of different recording artists, primarily hip hop, many big names. And so people are oftentimes surprised that like, oh, so-and-so, you know, can act, or like, wow, Method Man is like such a, you know, it's so compelling. But what they have often said is that a lot of times being, well, one, a recording artist, you are always acting at least in an audio kind of fashion because you are telling a story and a lot of times assuming the character of that story. But also, too, just being a lot of times African American male in the United States, you are, shall we just say, moving between different roles and language and social and cultural circumstances that other demographics don't have to. So like when somebody says do this, like you just DDM, correct me if I'm wrong, right? You just like slip into that kind of mode. And I would assume, given you know, your kind of personality, you might have to do that even more, right? Because you have a variety of different worlds where you may be dipping in and out of, correct?
Absolutely. You know what's so interesting, Lauren? I'm so glad that she said that, because I operate in so many spheres. I operate in corporate America. I started out doing battle rapping. I'm from West Baltimore City, so I operate in the street realm. I operate in the queer realm. I operate in the theater realm now, the music realm. So you are constantly switching. You wear a lot of hats, and you move through a lot of scenes and sectors. So that's absolutely correct. It is also a very interesting feeling when you start to get into your groove as an actor, because I've done like plays before, but on screen it's a different kind of feel. When you start to get in your groove and really understand that these are people, you have to kind of shake everything off and just live in that environment. And then once you do that, it turns into quite a magical experience. And Harris did such a phenomenal job with coaching me through that. I was like, oh my God, Harris, I have to go to acting school. And he's like, you don't have to do none of that. And like we met, and he really got me through it.
So Harris, tell us a little bit about that, what that process was like, and you know how you whipped him into shape for this role.
So I have coached actors and taught acting for 15 years. I consider it my special skill, and I also part of having taught it and been an actor for a long time, been a director for a long time, is knowing how to actually like stay out of the way as well, to create a space of freedom for someone to truly be. And so, you know, DDM showed up and he's like a really hard worker. And he's like, okay, I figured out every single thing, every little beat like this. And I was like, okay, great. You did your homework. Now throw it away, you know, and just, it was me encouraging him to, you know, just fully just show up and take a risk of not knowing, because, you know, he wasn't coming to this as like, you know, an unskilled performer. He's like a very accomplished performer, just not as an actor. And so it's a matter of like, if you can get someone, whether they're a musician or a dancer, to continue to do the art that they're already doing and continue to shine how they already shine, then they can just fly. And so DDM just, you know, I just like gave like a little tiny adjustment of like, this is the lane to be in. And then he just took it by the reins and just flew from take one, was just like so fully present in a way that, you know, people who are really trained, takes a long time to even attempt. And so it was really beautiful, inspired work from the beginning. And he was, you know, he wouldn't stop. So he like pulled Catherine Curtin over into the hallway and was like doing scenes with her and yelling at her in the hallway, you know, because he loved it. And clearly that comes through in the film, of his passion for acting as an extension of what he's already been doing.
I think that that's just so great, and you can obviously see that come through in the film. Why do you guys think that this is important to be included in the film festival this year? I mean, I know, as I mentioned at the beginning, you know, in some of the notes on this, you know, it is said that it's important because we don't typically see a protagonist like this, or maybe in this situation, right? Because there's a lot of maybe more stereotypical type of scenarios that, you know, we're thinking about and have seen, maybe seen too much. But this is a bit different, and also has, you know, some of the other elements involved in it, which just speak to kind of like, you know, social interaction overall. Is that what you think kind of attracted the curators, if you will, at Sundance for this, or what do you kind of think was really some of the most compelling elements of this, besides, you know, the comedy and really just the juiciness of it all?
Yeah, I mean, we had a conversation with the programmers who said actually what they loved about it was that it was something that was talking about something really important, but something that was at the same time authentically funny. And they were saying what a really difficult balance that is, and how rarely they found it. And they, I guess they don't actually program ideas, but they, you know, in programming, there end up being sort of themes that come through.
Right.
And in their program, there's been a lot of sort of, you know, breaking down and talking about, you know, structural, you know, suppression, right? In terms of like breaking down structures and, you know, and in terms of like, you know, DDM and myself, you know, both as like queer people, there is, and don't come from money, there's a lot of overlap in terms of like, at every step there've been like, you stay in your place, don't let your light shine, power structures keeping you down. And in that, you know, while we don't have the same experience, we have parallel experiences. And I think that that's where there was a really beautiful symmetry of speaking about, you know, this really horrible thing that, you know, is sort of a daily occurrence, you know, in our lives.
I think also too, what this film does, and I had to sit with it a little bit and look at it again, is it shows that the art life, especially as it pertains to hip hop and pop, is not always glamorous. It shows that artists, there are plenty of artists who have jobs. They never show that part. They never show the conflict of you being this, you know, out there personality that's vibrant and full of life, having to fit into corporate structures because this is how you're going to get there until you get your moment to shine. So I think it's very important at time in that space. I think it's important in the renaissance that we're seeing of Black people on film. We're seeing Black people just exist, right? So when you look at things like Insecure, when you look at Chewing Gum, we're allowed to be, you know, funny. We're allowed to be Friends or Seinfeld. We're allowed to have that space and not have our comedy rooted in depression, rooted in trauma, or rooted in being a character of ourselves. We can just exist, and that's okay.
I think that those are really good points to make, and it's funny that you do say that about having a day job and being an artist in the making, right? Because of course those of us who work with artists at a professional level, they then are professionals, so this is their job all day, every day. But yeah, before that, it's very, it can be very hectic, and you only hear about it after the fact, right? So like that, for example, Cardi B was a cashier at the Amish market here, Amish store down here, which is like a, I don't know, like a Korean deli, but Amish, and has more stuff in it. Anyway, she used to be a cashier there, and she got fired pretty quickly because she said she'd always give people stuff for free, right? This was while she was, an artist in the making. I'm sure if you did, this type of movie at this stage, where your character is for her, it would have been, hilarious too. So yeah, just being able to show these different parts of our, I don't know, just our whole humanity from different perspectives is a very, very cool thing. Let's talk about slow-mo though. We love the slow-mo, as I said, offline. We love the slow-mo of DDM with all this, Gucci drapery, moving through the sidewalk. How do you decide what's going to be like slow-mo and not when it could be overkill, not, it just seemed to be so perfect for that moment, and really, really reinforces, just the glory.
That was just like in this, my vision of the script. Like I knew that moment would be slow-mo because I wanted it to be this like confrontation. Like I wrote that he, was like dressed up to the nines and like business stuff and was, going for this confrontation. So I think I just knew from script stage that that's what it would be.
Yeah, that's so funny.
It just seemed like the most fabulous version,
and it is.
Yeah,
it is the most fabulous version. Tell me, I guess, just like maybe quickly, collectively, whatever, what your backgrounds. I mean, I know, but for our viewers, that it's not just like you all fell out of bed and now you're at Sundance. I mean, there's some very impressive previous work that has led up to this. So, do you want to kick that off yourself, Harris? Like some of the things that you've done before, what you've
Sure. I was an actor for a long time. I went to Juilliard. I did a lot of theater and then film, and I started filmmaking. I've written since I was a kid, but I started filmmaking in my early 30s, and now I'm in my early 40s. I made a short film called The Story of Milo and Annie that won a bunch of awards, and then I made a feature
some kind of cool festivals.
Yeah. And we won Indie Memphis, and it did well. And then I made this feature, Beauty Mark, which ended up premiering at the LA Film Festival and winning a lot of awards. And I was shortlisted for the Independent Spirit Awards for it. And during my acting days, it was the same thing. I was in an office. I was temping. I was wearing khakis. Just being like,
the ultimate insult. I was wearing khakis.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Like a cable knit sweater. It was like the ultimate horrible, just trying to like eat ramen and get through of like, please, if I could just act, and so it's, really nice at this point in life for things to have built to the point of where you can, do your art.
And not wear khakis. What do you bring though? Like, do you think the most to Harris from all that experience? Not the office work, but I mean, your filmmaking professional work. What is it that you think, now that you have a body going on of work and things like that? What is it that, I don't know, you think is really most valuable to you, or a tip that you would like to give like filmmakers that you've kind of learned? What's a shortcut or whatever, if you had to tell, as they say, the kind of cliched question, if you had to tell the older Harris had to tell the younger Harris, like, this is what you need to look out for, or if you do this you'll be able to get there quicker, anything like that? Or is it really
no, actually, I think that there's one really clear thing is, if you're not where you want to be, then keep growing, keep learning. It means that you are not complete yet. And so it has become very clear to me, like, where I didn't stop, like, the learning of skills, where I continued to read books, I continued to learn about the filmmaking process. I never was like, okay, this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to keep trying to perfect where I'm at. I was like, no, I'm going to just keep growing. I'm going to keep learning. I don't know enough. I don't have enough experience. And I just kept on that. And I think that that's something that if you're looking at your life and you're saying, I'm not where I want to be, I think that there's so much access to books and videos. Just keep growing, keep getting more information, and keep doing it. I think it's a matter of like doing it.
And that's a great tip.
Yeah.
Do either of you want to add anything as well? Doris, DDM, or?
Doris is the GOAT, okay? Doris, you want
That's
me to write your resume down, or you want to do it?
Go ahead.
So Doris, worked at HBO for many years. Couldn't believe when she contacted me. She has been a part of some amazing things. I don't know all the intricate details, but she is an amazing lady, and I don't know too many people that's going to finance a whole film for a person they met on Facebook. But I love her for that.
That was really like just divine intervention, right? But yes, I wanted to make sure that we got out that, Doris is, killer background from, HBO and so much more. She's very humble.
Yes.
But yeah, like really no joke on that. So I'm just so glad to see all of you, that you were able to collaborate and bring this to life, really.
Yes, it was
Absolutely.
really.
What about how to be able to follow you guys and like your next fabulous adventures in slow-mo and everything else?
Well, right now we have, the typical Instagram and for the film and Facebook page for the film. And
all right, coolness. Well, I can't thank you all enough. And Harris, I'm glad, you popped in. I hope that the film does really well for you guys during the festival, and that, everybody just gets many chuckles about it, but also, has a think about it as well, too. So, yes, much success. You guys, I hope that you've enjoyed watching this interview. I really hope that you get a chance to check out this film, because it is just, I don't know, it's just fun. And I think we all need some more fun like these days, for sure. So we will be bringing you even more interviews, all from great filmmakers during the Sundance Film Festival right here during the Inside series at film.io. Thank you so much for watching. I am Lauren deLisa Coleman.